Well, we're here today to rally against the decision by the president to have armed strikes against Syria. We think that, especially in labor, that the issue is the home front, not the international war front. I think that it's important that we stay guided in the fact that we need to build our economy. We're still coming out of a recession, that labor needs to support this, and the fact that you have a job market that is still down, unemployment high, and you also have a situation that exists where education is now so expensive, where the majority of college students coming out are in so much debt that in order for them to even build a family or build a life, they have to work almost 7 to 10 years before they actually come out of debt. I think that those issues and the domestic issues regarding jobs, regarding health care, are a higher priority, determining to use taxpayer money to fund missile strikes in Syria at this point.
And here to protest and let the public know that we, along with Iraq Veterans Against the War, are against any military action against Syria. The country had elected Obama twice, and he had promised to de-escalate the situations in both Iraq and Afghanistan. But instead, he did the opposite. The Nobel Prize winner had escalated more forces in Afghanistan that brought more implications, and it's now waging another war in Syria.
Remember the lies told to us by this government around weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Those lies by Colin Powell, who has really not been heard from since. Those lies at the UN that convinced the world to support those attacks on Iraq have cost, understand this number, have cost over 1 million lives in Iraq. Already 100,000 Syrians have been killed in this conflict. An attack on Syria by the United States is going to kill thousands more.
We're here today to stand against intervention in Syria because we believe that humanitarian intervention on behalf of the United States is a lie, and that it's an imperial aggressive war. It's one that we stand. We stand in solidarity with the revolution of Syria and against U.S. intervention. I mean, I think that the situation in Syria is a complex one, and I think that people shouldn't homogenize Syrian voices. I think we hear a lot of that here today. People are talking about that the opposition or the resistance is this or that, but in honesty, the resistance is a whole bunch of different politics that are mismatched. And a large part of those politics are still ordinary people organizing in the local coordinating committees on the streets of Syria for self-governance, for dignity, for bread, and for justice. There are elements associated with Al-Qaeda and all that jazz, but to homogenize and say that there isn't a revolution going on in Syria is a lie. In Syria, we've seen the newest instantiation of the Arab Spring, and that continues. It's been perverted by civil war, but it continues on many streets of the cities in Syria, and we stand in solidarity with those revolutionaries.
We are here today not only as people opposed to a U.S. war on Syria, but also as students of history. 10 years ago, we were told that Iraq's weapons of mass destruction and its history of reckless aggression in the Middle East were enough of a reason to go to war. Yet we saw that the weapons of mass destruction were nothing but a pretext, and that the true aggressors in the Middle East are the U.S. forces that have attacked Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and are now on the precipice of attacking Syria. We see from the U.S. drone strikes in Pakistan that have caused at least 400 civilian deaths, including 168 children, from the hundreds of thousands that were killed in the occupations of Iraq and Afghanistan, from the U.S. military's use of chemical weapons like depleted uranium and white phosphorus, that the U.S. has no concern for the welfare of the people in the Middle East. I am proud today to see so many people standing up against intervention and for the truth and self-determination of the Syrian people. It is important that we are here today not only to show that we have learned from that history, but also to show the people of Syria and across the Middle East that there are those in the U.S. who know that U.S. cruise missiles and bombs only actually thwart the possibility of peace and true democracy?
It doesn't really make sense to use a military action just to give a message, to send a message. Using military, it's a very serious act of war. There is no easy way to go about it, and there's many implications. There's innocent people could die because of these actions. It's going to bring more terrorism, it's going to bring more deaths, and it's going to affect not only environmentally but economically around the world.